Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us today to learn more about how New York is leading the way in scaling online SNAP. My name is Bronwyn Starr. I'm a senior program officer with the New York Health Foundation with our Healthy Food, Healthy Lives program. And today I am joined by four panelists: Sawyer Cressup, the executive director of ADK Action; Lindsay Willimane, the executive director of the Hub on the Hill; Josh McGuire, the Double Up Food Bucks program director at Field and Fork Network; and Erica Rommel, the senior director of nutrition incentives at Fair Food Network. Welcome, everyone. So online ordering and home delivery for SNAP recipients is a promising solution, particularly for users who are homebound or have transportation issues, especially in rural areas. And until recently, options for becoming an online SNAP vendor, and then also for actually accessing SNAP online as a low-income rural user, has been very limited. However, our grantees Hub on the Hill and ADK Action became the first partnered, and the Hub on the Hill became the first food hub in the nation to accept SNAP payments online. The path was long and arduous, as they will explain, and hard, but they were very successful, so that you don't have to all go through that today, the rest of you. The Hub is now also partnering, as of about a month ago, with Field and Fork Network, another NYHealth grantee, to offer the Double Up Food Bucks nutrition incentive online as well. Again, the Hub is the first grocer in the nation to roll out Double Up Food Bucks with an automated online solution. So we're going to hear from the panelists today, and there will be an opportunity for Q&A toward the end of the hour. We're recording the session, and the webinar and the slides will also be available in the coming days. So I am going to ask Sawyer to start the story for us of how and why this came to happen, and your role with partnering with Hub on the Hill. Sawyer.
Thanks, Bronwyn, and hi, everybody. Yeah, really great to have you all with us. As Bronwyn mentioned, my name is Sawyer Cressup, and I'm the director of a nonprofit in the Adirondack Park called ADK Action. We are dedicated to really helping nature and helping our year-round communities here in the park. For those of you who aren't really familiar with the Adirondacks as a region, it's a pretty mountainous, sprawling rural area, 6 million acres, about the size of the state of Vermont. And we think about the needs of our ecosystems and our human communities. And one of the biggest ways we do that is through our food security program. And that's really where our story of SNAP Online starts. Our work with this really began in the pandemic when ADK Action collaborated with the Hub on the Hill to launch an emergency food package program that worked to support buying from our local farmers. And it's a really burgeoning small farm sector here in the region, despite the fact that we're losing a lot of our year-round grocery stores and local markets. So working with the Hub on the Hill team, we were able to put together a really robust emergency food package program that delivered to almost 1,000 people during the pandemic. It ran through October of 2020. And when that program launched with some incredible support, there was also support to consider, how could this program be more than just an emergency relief? How could it really be something durable that would tackle hunger and support our small farms in the long run? So that's where we really came to SNAP Online. We found there was a market among the food insecure families that we were serving to pay an amount of money for these packages that had once been free. And the amount that we started testing to see if this model could work was just $1. From there, we moved things up to a 50% discount for what had been that emergency food package. There was also an a la carte buying option. And then we eventually moved to an electronic benefits card, not unlike SNAP, but we call it the Fair Food Program, and it's a card that offsets the cost of local food. But in order for this model to work, it had to have delivery, and it had to find a way to incorporate the ability to offset the cost of what the consumer was going to be taking on. The amazing delivery that the Hub does, they were able to, as already a SNAP vendor, be able to use an electronic portable card reader at the time of delivery. But it's difficult in an area like ours to accept SNAP on the fly, even for a food hub that's already a vendor. And Lindsay, I'm sure you can speak to this. but there's a high likelihood that an area is not going to have broadband when you reach their house. It's a possibility that somebody's not going to be home, not quite positive that their card's going to have enough on it to cover the order. So there had to be a better way to do this. And that's what led us to the Snap Online pilot, which was authorized by the 2014 Farm Bill. Up until this point, it had really been major retailers that were able to break through the Walmarts, the Amazon, and they had been able to get at a $7 billion market here in New York State for Snap Online. To this day, we've only had about 30 vendors be able to do this in our state. But back then, ADK Action and the Hub were really wading into what was uncharted territory, because it was very clear that this was kind of a black hole, not a lot of information regarding process, about cost, or about time. So we sought out to see if we could accumulate some vendors who could build out the requirements of what we'd need. We didn't really find anything that was an out-of-the-box solution. So we ended up working with a startup out of California called Forage. They were out to try to create an app that would compare costs for SNAP users looking to buy food. And then we realized together that they could actually shift their model a little bit to do something that would get at this need for third-party processors and for work with a grocery tailored e-commerce platform. There's a lot of tech jargon that I'm sort of wading into, but don't worry, we're gonna break it down. But we ended up teaming up with Forage alongside the Hub on the Hill. They've been at work with another company called Grocerist, and working together, we were able to move this forward from October of 2020 all the way through to January of 2023. So a little bit over 2 years, but as Bronwyn mentioned, I think we hit every bump in the road so you don't have to. And along the way, we also documented the process. So our former director, Brittany Christensen, someone in the audience, Ames Robb, and our ADK Action staff put together a Snap Online guide that really goes through the context for this issue and what exactly it looks like from the USDA Food and Nutrition Service side, and then from the retailer side, what options are available and how can you see what's right for you. So it quickly became apparent that it's complicated. So let me share this guide a little bit and show you what we found out. So here's our guide. Again, that background that I mentioned, we'll be able to share this with you all. We've got some frequently asked questions from retailers that have come up for us. And then the retail requirements. These are things that we noticed the FNS was very frank about sharing, but it's not very detailed, unfortunately. So here is what we recommended vendors look at as they're seeing what systems are going to be right for them and if they're going to be able to really participate in Snap Online before they go through all the trouble. So procurement and inventory systems, food storage, delivery infrastructure, e-commerce solutions. So here at the bottom, I just want to point out that while it took us over 2 years to be able to do this, this was creating a model. And now a partnership between Forage and Grocerist estimates that it's very likely that a community-based food vendor could go live in about 3 months. We've got a lot of great information about the Hub on the Hill as their case study. Lindsay can certainly fill in more on this because there's a lot to say. But we thought it might be possible just to create almost like a PayPal overlay that would work with a Shopify site, but it was far more complicated than that. It involves a third-party processor. That's where we used Forage in our tech stack, Grocerist with the e-commerce platform, plenty of inventory management, and then there's the entire delivery and fulfillment side. There is only 3 third-party processors that are approved at this point. But there's a lot to say about all of the other opportunities on the e-commerce inventory delivery side. So we tried to break down our sense of, what the trade-offs and benefits of each of these are, and to give a little information about what affects the end cost. We can't put a dollar amount to any of this because it really depends on the infrastructure that each vendor is working with, but there's definitely a lot to say about, what you can expect based on your system and your needs. Then just some information about the Snap Online pilot in general. There's going to be some movement on greater assistance for those who are seeking to do this as well with that assistance center, our acknowledgements and our conclusion. So we'll make sure to share this with everybody. But there were a few things I want to mention just in context, because this, it's essential to consider all these opportunities to meet the needs of rural food insecurity. The loss of grocery stores across rural areas like ours is well documented. And the term food desert, it's falling out of favor. And it's also no longer really applicable now that you can have food delivered. It doesn't matter where it's coming from and where it's going if technology can enable something like that. And especially if that delivery is sustainable, which is a whole nother thing. But instead of getting groceries from Walmart or Instacart, I mean, the Hub on the Hill, you've beaten the odds. And now we're able to have true equity in online ordering by being able to support our local farms with the same amount of convenience. It'll be hard for us to continue to work towards that price accessibility point beyond just proximity. So that's the next mountain to climb. But I'm excited for Snap Online to be more accessible for all of the vendors in our state and across the nation who have something similar to offer to their communities. We had some great partners in the making. Forage is now a growing business. The emergency food package program that we launched together is now the Fair Food program, and Double Up Food Bucks has now taken this to a whole other level. So I'm excited to hear from everyone else about layers to add on to the story.
Thanks, Sawyer. That was a great setup, a great intro. I'm going to turn it now over to Lindsay to sort of talk about the next phase of the project, the next chapter in the story. Thanks, Lindsay. Got to unmute yourself.
I clearly do this a lot. Thank you so much, Sawyer. That was a great introduction. I am going to talk to you a little bit about the Hub on the Hill, what a food hub is, a little bit about the history of how we started working towards food equity, and then kind of where we want to take it. So the Hub on the Hill was established in 2015. For those who don't know what a food hub is, the USDA defines a food hub as a business or organization that actively manages the aggregation, distribution, and marketing of source-identified food products primarily for local and regional producers to strengthen their ability to satisfy wholesale, retail, and institutional demand. Our mission is to forge pathways toward a just and sovereign food system in the North Country. And how we do that is by offering a broad range of support at nearly every point along the value chain: aggregation and distribution, including last mile delivery to consumers, restaurants, grocers, and institutions, commercial kitchen for rent and co-packing service, affordable rental of dry, cold, and frozen storage, which is sorely lacking in the area, and brick and mortar and online marketplaces that offer locally produced food. Our food access programming began in partnership with ADK Action Adirondack Council, which was supported by a Mother Cabrini grant and Adirondack Foundation funding. It rose out of the pandemic response, as Sawyer pointed out. At that time, we established an online ordering system. Our delivery fleet expanded, and we got SNAP into our brick and mortar store. And as Sawyer mentioned, we were using mobile readers when we were doing deliveries to individuals. Through that programming, early on, we served 500 households and 64,700 emergency meals. I think Sawyer explained about how we got to Snap Online. To give you some sense of, I'll back up a little bit. We actually haven't seen too many orders since we've launched Snap Online. Unfortunately, the timing occurred with the reduction in emergency benefits that were given to SNAP users. So the value of SNAP orders year to date is $300. With Double Up Food Bucks, we saw a tiny bump, and we did have some tech glitches that might contribute to this, and we haven't pushed it a ton. But the numbers are fairly small. And to give you a sense of what SNAP users are actually, like SNAP budget actually is, in 2019, which was the most recent published pre-emergency benefits I could find, the average SNAP household benefit was $233 a month for individuals that made $963 per month. So as Sawyer said, the next frontier is addressing some of the price barriers. Through distribution and vehicles like SNAP Online, as well as institutional contracts, we have opened the channels through which healthy local food can flow. In the wake of removal of the emergency SNAP benefits, and at a time when food prices are astronomical, it's no small endeavor to address the affordability issue. And none of us is going to make systemic change soon. But there are some stopgap measures that we can take and we are taking, such as stacking subsidies, like Sawyer mentioned. We are a vendor that participates in the Fair Food Pricing Program. We accept those PEX cards, the direct to consumer subsidy cards that Sawyer mentioned. We also we participate in a program called Wellness RX, and that is and through partnership with the local health department and a community hospital. And it's a voucher program. We're also partnering this year with CCE Jefferson in their SNAP Edge Farm to Table program. It's another voucher program, will be an event site. And we're hoping that those vouchers will help people to stretch their SNAP dollars a little bit more. Of course, we have Double Up Food Bucks, which is an incredible program. And we participate in a food as medicine program with Hudson Headwater. Also this summer, it looks like 80K Action, and we will be partnering to offer a free cooking and canning class, and participants will receive free supplies, free bulk produce for 10 weeks, over the course of 10 weeks through the summer. And that's available to our online Fair Food and SNAP customers, as well as our in-person ones. One of our other strategic endeavors is to beef up our farm to school sales. In our region, a majority of the students qualify for free lunch. So that's another way that we can try to circumvent the affordability issue. And then with the help of funding from NYHealth Foundation, we are working towards becoming, formalizing a food hub network to access greater economies and larger institutional markets. So those are some of the ways that we're trying to tackle the remaining issues. But as it has always been, it's going to take a lot of creativity, a lot of collaboration, and a lot of ingenuity. And so I'm grateful for all the people on this panel and what they're contributing. That's it.
Thanks, Lindsay. So now we're going to hear from Josh, who is with Field and Fork Network, excuse me, out of. Hi, sorry. So Josh, we're going to go ahead and hear from you about sort of like the latest headline about Double Up Food Bucks.
All right, sounds great. Hello, everybody, and thank you, Sawyer and Lindsay. That was awesome and great setup, and I'm liking the storyline so far. It's fitting. So yeah, I'm Josh McGuire, and I'm the program director for Double Up Food Bucks New York. And Field and Fork Network is the organization I work for. We operate the program, and Field and Fork Network's mission is to create innovative solutions that foster a sustainable food system. So Double Up Food Bucks is one of the programs that we offer, and it's our largest, I would call it our flagship program. We are really excited about this online platform. It's been something that we've been working towards for a while now, and it was a matter of finding the right technology partners and the right store and to do this with. And Hub on the Hill, we had worked with to offer Double Up Food Bucks at their store at the physical location, but they came back to us and we had been in tune with the fact that they were offering SNAP Online. And we were then introduced to Grocerist, and we had a working relationship with Forage already, but it was Grocerist who really helped us kind of take it across the finish line. They were able to find a third-party app that they then could called Glow that they really tweaked to make work for Double Up Food Bucks online. And what's really exciting about this is that not only does it provide more equity in this sphere, we talk about the rising prices of everything. And Double Up Food Bucks is a great solution and a great program because it offers a $1 to $1 match on the purchasing of produce up to $20 a day. So the way it operates normally in stores, we operate at around 220 plus unique sites across New York State, and we operate throughout the state with Double Up Food Bucks. And outside of New York City, however, everywhere else we operate. And this match of up to $20 per day, you can keep adding that up over time. And so online with this solution, I'm going to share my screen real quick and kind of show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is Hub on the Hill's website, and online we have, what's really nice is there's a whole Double Up Food Bucks area that we can click on. And there's also a little Double Up Food Bucks banner here. So if you see these around at all, this is the logo for Double Up Food Bucks. And this is actually a program out of Michigan. So you may see these around. There's around 29 different states that offer Double Up Food Bucks right now, but there are various in a myriad of nutrition incentives that are offered in general. And this is the one that we offer through Field and Fork Network. So basically, this is what, if we click on this little icon down here, this is where SNAP customers can create an account, and their Double Up Food Bucks are triggered by their SNAP EBT tender when they're cashing out. So that's what prompts the system to give them the benefit, and they can then claim those. They then will get points added to their account. Each point is worth $1, up to $20 a day. So up to 20 points per day that can go into their account, and they can stash those funds as long as they need to. So it really can extend their benefits for purchasing fresh fruits and vegetables. And those purchases do add up on fresh fruits and vegetables only. That's part of the program. That's part of the incentive. We like to say it helps out the local farmers and the local economy. It helps out the health of the individuals. So the program in general operates in that way. And I'll just click out of this. But it's also really easy to see what items are eligible online as well, and to learn a bit more about the program, because we kind of have an overview that Hub on the Hill was kind enough to put on their website and allow customers a little bit more context. But if we go to shop online, we can filter by Double Up Food Bucks. So this is all really, really handy for customers. And as the season progresses and grows, you know, these options become more varied as well. But this allows customers to choose from these items, and that all gets cached in their account when they're cashing out. So we are super excited about this, because this is one, it's huge and groundbreaking for Hub on the Hill, but I think the Double Up program across the nation is going to benefit from this. And that, I think that's what is the most exciting thing. We have had a whole lot of press around this and excitement from other grantees in the nutrition incentive world to really kind of figure out, you know, how this happened and how they can continue to capitalize on this new technology that is, you know, equalizing the playing field in the online world. So we're really excited to be a part of it. And that's most of what I got.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. So now finally, we're going to hear from Erica Rommel of the Fair Food Network, not Field and Fork Network. Erica leads the nutrition incentive work there, and we wanted to bring her in because she is working tangentially with our grantees, and also she has the national level. And I know we've been speaking a lot about, you know, now that this is sort of out in the world. Erica's been fielding a lot of inquiries from around the country on how to do this work and scale this work. So we're going to hear from Erica's perspective, and then we'll open this up to audience Q&A. Erica.
It was great to hear the full story of how online SNAP and incentives evolved in New York. And so I just want to underscore how significant of an innovation this is for the field of nutrition incentives. This is both the first food hub that's been able to access online SNAP, and to do so while pairing it with Double Up Food Box is hugely significant for the field. So before I get into the weeds a little bit more on that, I just wanted to give a little additional context about who I am and what the Nutrition Incentive Hub is. So I work with Fair Food Network, which helps coordinate the Nutrition Incentive Hub, which is a coalition of partners that work together in order to support organizations operating nutrition incentive and produce prescription programs all around the country. This was created through the 2018 Farm Bill as part of the Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program, which provides federal funding through USDA to support these wonderful programs. And GusNet's goals are really to increase the purchase and consumption of fruits and vegetables, decrease household food insecurity, improve health outcomes, and the associated healthcare costs. And sort of surrounding all of that, one of the key priorities is local food, right? We know local food is more expensive, as Lindsay highlighted. And so incentives offer a wonderful opportunity to help make local food more accessible by layering them on together. And so one of the things that I thought would be important to highlight and sharing with you all is the impact of the GusNet program. So just to share quickly my screen, hopefully you all can see my screen. I just wanted to give you a sense of what the impact of the GusNet program is. So currently there are 69 active projects all across the country that involve a SNAP transaction, which means there are at least 69 organizations that will be working with their associated partners to potentially offer online SNAP. And what that looks like in terms of the economic impact is that's a little over $2.5 million in federal funds, plus an additional $2.5 million in matching funds that grantees are required. So this is at a minimum a $5 million impact around SNAP purchasing. So increasing, making SNAP purchases more affordable, focused on fruits and vegetables. So GusNet only incentivizes produce at the point of sale. And there are currently 21 states that are participating in this, and this increases every year. And just to give you a sense of where, what that looks like right now. So to date, from 2019 to March of this year, and data is still coming in, there have been $2.8 million in nutrition incentives that have been redeemed. So it's a fairly significant impact that the GusNet program has in terms of making fresh fruits and vegetables more accessible. So online SNAP, as everyone has mentioned, has been increasingly an area of interest for a number of our grantees that are working in non-traditional retail spaces. So I wanted to mention that currently there are 445 retail outlets where people can have the opportunity to utilize incentives at the point of purchase. Of that, about 65% are in non-traditional retail, which includes farmers markets, mobile markets, CSAs, and of course, food hubs. And as Sawyer mentioned, most of the folks that have been approved for online SNAP have been traditional, either internet retailers or traditional brick and mortar stores that you have a physical location at. And so this is a huge innovation for the field that folks are almost daily reaching out to us to understand how they can replicate this model in their community, in both urban and rural environments. And so I just wanted to highlight the huge opportunity and the groundbreaking innovation that these folks have done to create this huge opportunity for many others. That while the current, while current sales may be small, I think that there's opportunity for that to grow, and certainly for that to be replicated in many other communities. So just wanted to highlight this huge innovation for the field.
Thanks, Erica. Some questions have already been put in the chat, so I'd invite the audience to start putting in more questions if you have them. I have a kickoff question, maybe more geared towards Sawyer and Lindsay. We've talked a lot about the vendor side and the technical stuff. What about the users? Have you heard back from your customers on how this is working for them? Anything you can share about that?
Do you want to take that, Lindsay?
Yeah, we haven't gotten any negative feedback. I will say probably the most challenging orders that we get and that ADK Action kind of feels are folks that have broadband accessibility issues. And so, that's another frontier.
Yeah.
But in terms of accessing our technology for those who don't have that hurdle, it hasn't been a problem.
Thank you. So someone has a technical question, and I'm just going to read it verbatim because I'm not even sure what it means. But is GLOW the TPP that electronically integrates double up food bucks? In other words, did grocerists have to integrate both GLOW and forage technologies? And can you explain the integration of double up in a little more detail? Josh, I guess this is for you.
Yeah. So I'm not super heavy on the tech side of things as far as that goes, but what I can say is that forage is just the payment processor here, and is kind of on that really back end of things where this whole system operates off of the Shopify platform specifically, and Grocerist is the e-commerce solution that works hand in hand. They call it white glove with the stores to put that forward-facing website on and help the store, organize it in the way that they see fit. The app is then was integrated into Shopify's platform, and that is how I understand it to be run. Since it's been integrated, one of the tech glitches that we had that I see as another question on there is that when Shopify updated their system, because the app was connected to their system, it messed up that integration ever so slightly to where people were just getting some email. It wasn't a big thing. It was just some people were getting some emails that were a bit wrong on what their actual account numbers were, giving them the wrong number of points in their actual accounts. And that was able to be seen and fixed really, really quickly. We didn't have too many issues with that, but once that was fixed, I believe Grocerist is able to take that kind of off of the Shopify platform, or at least one situation removed, so that now if Shopify updates anything on the back end, it will not affect the way that the GLOW integration works to store people's accounts and the points that they earn as a result of double up.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to combine a couple of questions. One, someone has asked about sort of TA and you alluded to this a little bit earlier, Lindsay, TA, if there's any TA available on the user side, on the consumer side, to help them get acclimated to this, to using Snap Online. And then also someone else had asked about accessibility for non-English language speakers, and if that's part of this or in the works.
I can elaborate a little bit more. there's no formal assistance. We have a small enough population that I have fielded calls on the weekend from people who were trying to use our system and kind of help to walk them through. ADK Action probably has the most contact with those of our Fair Food customers that are not actively using the site. And like I said, I think for us, there are structural access issues, and it's hard. I think probably that are probably coincide with some of the just the know-how piece of it too. It's really hard for us to all. There's just not broadband everywhere around here or cell service around here everywhere. So most of the people that don't know how to use the site and the technology probably don't because of that hurdle. But it is not something that we've really dug into yet.
Okay, thank you. Someone was asking, other than the nutrition incentive funding, is this model sustainable? So, and that might still be a TBD, but really, thinking long term, are others going to be able to replicate this? As or are people going to have to sort of rely on initial grant funding to get this off the ground? What do you guys think? And also, I think it might be worth pointing out, and maybe Sawyer, you can speak to this. This is still in the pilot phase at the USDA. So in terms of like larger scale funding, that's probably not, we're not there yet. That's not available yet.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Bronwyn. It's not necessarily in a more mainstream funding place. All in all, this for ADK Action and the hub really building a new model cost about $20,000, and it wasn't clear at the start even what that amount would look like. But now, I mean, to use the phrase white glove again, like I think there's becoming a marketplace for this. There's becoming more plug and play integration. So we just have to expect that cost is going to go down. And I'd hope that there would be a business case for Snap Online for integrating Double Up food bucks as we continue to deal with a lot of the structural barriers that keep this from being really uptaken and used by customers in a significant way, that there will be a sustainability benefit to having this be part of your vendor operations. But I imagine that there will still, be opportunities and needs for support until that, threshold is crossed.
Right. And there was I'm going to ask you, piggyback on this question, there's $5 million that was from the USDA for the EBT Modernization Technical Assistance Center. And I don't know, Erica, you might have some opinions about this too, but how is that effective, or is that sort of like, are people really taking advantage of that assistance? Can you speak to that a little bit?
So that was awarded to the National Grocers Association Foundation, which is a partner of ours. So they are very well versed in incentive programming and connecting that to incentives. They have worked with a number of grantees that receive the GusNet funding to help them often just configuring incentives in grocery stores, and have also done some work around online SNAP. The first grocer to offer incentives online is a part of that team. So from what I understand right now, they're still in the organizing phase of things. So I don't think that they have done much in that role, but they've done a number of webinars for nutrition incentive programs that are free and accessible on our website. I can link them. And they also have an online SNAP guide available for free that I think is going to be different than the one that ADK Action created, because this one is more focused on grocery retail partnerships. So I think there's a huge opportunity there. And I think that for others to get support from them. And I think that it's having knowledge of how the incentive transaction operates and works is really critical in this piece of the work, because as Sawyer, Lindsay, and Josh all discovered, there are a lot of different moving pieces in order to actually make the transaction work, to be in compliance with SNAP policy, and to create an easy customer experience.
Thank
If
you.
I could just go back to the question about sustainability and replication. What our work with Grocerist and Forage is right now. They're still helping us kind of fine tune the site so that it best meets our needs. Partly because they want to have something like more of an off-the-shelf option for food hubs like ours, people that have really dynamic needs. So, the tech might not be, there might not be the same barrier to entry on the tech side as there is right now. We're also, as an organization, looking at getting funding for customized platforms and partnership with other food hubs and cooperatives to kind of build on some of what Forage and Grocers have already done. So, it's just an idea that we're floating around, and it is a huge expense that SNAP, at least our SNAP transactions, are not going to pay for, but it's kind of worth doing, and hopefully, we're going to be a part of creating something that is a little bit easier for people to bring on.
Great, thank you. This might be for Josh. It's sort of a two-part question. I'll start. Someone's asking if there's why Double Up Food Bucks is not in New York City. Yes, New York City did just approve a Groceries to Go program that's a little more specific. It's for health and hospital patients. The city does also offer health bucks, not a one-to-one match, but the reason for Double Up Food Bucks not in New York City, I'm going to let Josh take that.
Sure. Yeah. So we work, actually, we have a great relationship with the New York City Health Department, as we both run incentive programs. And we don't operate in New York City, namely because they are between Get the Good Stuff and Health Bucks and Groceries to Go. They have the programs they need, and they're pretty good with where they're at. And so we don't want to necessarily take the funds that we have and offer them where there's also some really other great incentive programs that are operating, just to stretch our funds as far as we can to the areas where they can be most beneficial. So that's kind of, that's the reasoning behind that. And one thing I did see also from, it looks like from Rose, about the Glow integration. And I should just mention and clarify that we didn't work with Glow at all. That's all Grocerist who worked to take an app that wasn't meant for something like Double Up Food Bucks, but was close enough to a loyalty system that they tweaked it and manipulated it to make it something that could work. So if you were going to reach out to anyone, Glow probably wouldn't be all that helpful. I don't know for sure, but I think more Grocerists would be aligned with helping in that way, since they are the ones who were able to manipulate that to make it something that would work for incentive programs.
Thank you. Someone else asked, in the guide, the delivery route SNAP permits are not being authorized for SNAP online. So can anyone talk about why they're not yet being considered by FNS?
I'm happy to start it. And if anybody else has any information, please feel free to jump in. So in the conversations that I've had with FNS, I think what's important to note that often gets missed in the online SNAP work is that it's still in pilot form, which means that the rules and the regulations are still evolving. And so I actually just heard from a food hub just the other day who has the status FNS firm type as delivery route, that they've at least passed the first round of review in order to move forward. So I think FNS is still figuring out what the rules are for firm types that aren't like a traditional brick and mortar store. So with food hubs, it gets complicated because there's so many different versions of food hubs. Hub on the Hill, of course, has a brick and mortar location, but there are many others that don't, that may operate as a delivery route. And so I think that because it's the good news is that because it's still in pilot form, is that there's still opportunity to explore different ways to integrate sort of non-traditional retail into the online SNAP pilot, especially if somebody is already SNAP authorized. So that's my initial thoughts around that.
Great, thank you. The questions have slowed down a little bit, so I don't know. I want to ask if anyone else has any final questions. Again, we're going to make the recording available on our website within the next day or so, including the contact information for the panelists, including the slides. And I know, we're just hoping to get the word out and the guide out and sort of, I hope this has reduced some of the barriers and some of the maybe intimidation factor that some folks have had into stepping into this world. So I just want to thank all of the panelists again. I want to thank everyone for joining. I know Sawyer and Lindsay, it was a long, hard road, but congratulations, you did it. You paved the way. And we, we're looking forward to seeing how this can be replicated and scaled, not just across New York State, but everywhere else. So thank you all for joining us today. And in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks.